And yes, you have read that right. We have an egg thief. I have to say, in all my years watching my own bird boxes and following other ones online, I have never once came across this behaviour. But before we get to this, we have to backtrack and catch up with ourselves. So we have been following this female Great-tit from the 2nd of April when she started to build her nest. And she built it pretty promptly, and in the last video we saw her lay her first egg. Well, I can tell you on the 10th that she managed to lay another one, and this is very typical of what you see this time of year, where they will lay one egg a day until their clutch is complete. And then, so what about the 11th? Well, we actually just catch a glimpse here, just very slightly, that there's a third egg, and we're going to get a better look at that later. So everything was going according to plan for this Great-tit. Now, I have to say, we haven't even named this pair of Great-tits yet, so we're going to have to do that. So be sure to just throw in any suggestions that you may have in your comments, and I'll put up a poll and we'll all decide on what these should be called. So we've been seeing this bird hide her eggs very well, and well, we had a visitor on 11:30 at the 11th, and this is not the same Great-tit. It's a different female Great-tit, and we'll be able to see why straight away once she comes in. And I've checked the markings on these birds on the back of her head, and it is a different bird, but also we can tell from the behaviour. So when this bird comes in, you're going to see some nesting behaviour that you'd typically see when a bird first arrives in a nest box. So this female Great-tit comes in and she's doing a nest inspection. She's looking around and she even starts nest shuffling, and we know that behaviour as trying to build a nest. Our female would have no reason to do this at this stage in her nest building. She'd only risk damaging her eggs. And this Great-tit at the moment does not know there are eggs in this nest box. And I have came across this behaviour a couple of times, and usually it comes and goes, and nothing really comes off it unless an argument happens between the two birds if she really wants to steal the nest. We can see our female back a little bit later, and she seems a little bit perplexed, nearly as if she notices something, but she retidies up her nest, and she popped in every so often just to make sure that the eggs were nice and covered. And I have to say, she really does a good job at this. We cannot see that from a perfect bird's eye view down on these eggs. The eggs are nowhere to be seen, but they are tucked up in there nice and what she thinks safe and out of harm's way. And we can also hear the male Great-tit singing outside there. And she would head off and come back every so often to check on the nest, sometimes bringing back a little bit of fluff to just soften up that nest just that little bit more. So she was keeping tabs on the nest. But eventually she can't stay at the nest all day, and she headed off on her travels to get a bit of food, I would imagine. And just 10 minutes later, we had another visit from the second female. And straight off the bat, we can see completely different behaviour and demeanour from the other bird. So straight off the bat, we know this is the other female. And also, the markings on this bird is very different than our other female when you look at them freeze-framed like I can. So she went into a serious spat of nest shuffling here, and she's acting no different as if this nest box was empty. If this was an empty nest box, this is how this bird would be prospecting this nest as a potential nest site. So this continued, and eventually you'll see she is walking across where the eggs are, she's shuffling where the eggs are, and eventually she actually stumbles across the eggs and notices them. And And so I'll zoom in for you a little bit here, and we can just see that the eggs have been uncovered there. Now, she hasn't noticed them just yet. She's too busy shuffling, but you'll see here the moment she notices. And there, she has just spotted the eggs. I have seen in previous years and other nest series that they tend to just ignore eggs generally, or build a nest over them. They're kind of impartial to them, and that's what I assumed was going to happen here. If you have seen anything similar in your own nest boxes, please do share in the comments. I'd love to hear it. This female got very fixated on the eggs once she found them, and I have to say I found this quite unusual, and I did start worrying for these eggs at this moment in time. I was more worried of them getting cracked or broken accidentally in her shuffling, but this female Great-tit did something that I was not expecting to see whatsoever. You can see she's standing on the egg. She has no love for these eggs. But just look. She picks one up completely whole and takes it away. Now, whether this is to eat that egg or to discard of this egg, I have to say I'm not 100% sure. But we can see that this is 3 down to 2 already, and those 2 eggs are looking awful sorry for themselves. And we can see the female Great-tit comes back, a resident female Great-tit, and it's very clear that she notices something. I must say my heart went out for her at this point. Those eggs are very, just from an ecology science point of view, they are very calorie heavy to make. There's a lot of energy put into these eggs, and I'm sure as a mother as well, she must feel some sort of attachment. I don't know how much or little Great-tits and blue tits feel for their eggs at this point. I don't know, I can't say for that, but I do know an egg would be very costly to make. So she kind of sits around, tries to hide the eggs a little bit more, and heads off. And I was quite surprised to see that she didn't return for quite a while, and so much so that the other female Great-tit returned at around 5:45 for another look. Now this camera's in a darker part of the garden, so the light does turn to infrared quite early, but just look. She's interested in those eggs again. This is the female, the intruder, we'll call her at this point. Straight into the nest and shuffles again. We can see the 2 remaining eggs getting uncovered and moved about quite aggressively, and she can clearly notice them here. I thought that was an eggshell at first. It isn't, thankfully, but look at, straight out. And we are down to 1 egg. I have to say, a catastrophic day for our resident female. And I have to say, she came back at around 7:20, and you can see she notices straight off the bat. She knows something is up. This is not how it was left. They're not stupid. They know something has disturbed the nest, and indeed there are eggs missing. Thankfully, there was an egg, for our sake, from a selfish point of view, there was an egg left, so she didn't abandon it. But if all the eggs were gone, she very well could have abandoned the nest. So we have covered a lot in this video, and only from one nest box. So I am going to put Wendy's nesting behavior in the next video, and we will circle back to what happened on the 12th and 13th in that video in the next one. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Very sad day for our female resident Great-tit, but sure, look, this is nature. And just like we have seen in the past, it is no fairy tale. It is tough out there, and we can wonder why the other female was taking the eggs. Maybe it was to eat. if she ate that egg, if she ate the innards of the egg, the yolk and everything like that, that is a lot of nutrition. It takes these birds a whole day to make one. So if that bird can eat it, that would be a very, very calorie high meal for when she needs to build her nest and eventually lay her own eggs. So it is in her best interest to do that. And if she thinks she's just clearing out an unused nest, maybe that's what was going on. But we can only speculate, I'm afraid. So on that note, we will see you again, and we'll see you in the next video. Alrighty, bye bye.